are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Do not come. Do not come. Hello,
What?
everybody. Welcome to the cringiest of cringe, the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, Sunday night shit show.
You thought this show was going to be about cringe? We're making cringe.
We
this
are
is entirely us making cringe today.
Like how Fauci, I am science. We are cringe.
We be cringe.
How are you? How are you, my friend?
Oh, I am good. I'm just happy to be here drinking my low alcohol beers because this is the new me.
Wait, why is low alcohol better than not regular alcohol?
Well, it's in my fitness thing. You know, I got this thing about getting into shape a little more. So I'm drinking just under 5% liquor. So
that's because the beer is a light beer, so it's fewer calories, which also translates to less alcohol.
Alcohol percentage is pretty much calories. Like if the dark, that's why darker beers,
But it
darker
like
beers
vodka's got a lot. Yeah, true. You should put a shot of vodka in there.
So what's that called? My point.
Sorry.
Sorry. Don't make me cringe.
Make your good point. I want to hear it.
My point is that I'm 3% less happy because this is 3% less alcohol than I should be having right now. But
I think that's crazy.
Your lovely face is getting me through it. So there we go.
Well, now I'm gonna look at this. That's right. Or hi, look. My dog, she comes in, but she won't make an actual appearance. But I can't use this for you. Probably the liquor talking anymore.
It's the low alcohol percentage liquor. That's if I say something correct now. I'm going to blame it on, well, I'm a lot smarter nowadays or something.
So what are you going to do if you make a mistake? It's so much easier to be like, I've had too much wine. That's why. That's what happens.
Yeah, you're making a good point here. How's your world?
It's good. It's really good. Everybody was so kind on Wednesday, wishing my husband Josh a good Friday birthday, which ended up being us mostly just sitting around the house because we had a lot of maintenance issues and one repair person here, but we did go out for a fun dinner. And yesterday, I'm still recovering from last night. Our good friend, Miss Tina Desiree Berg, anytime we see her, it is in spite of our best intentions to get home early and not drink too much and all of that. I think I went to bed at almost 4 a.m. new time. Almost 4 a.m. new time. So almost 3 a.m. But we had a really nice time. It was very much fun. My cousin and his girlfriend came, and it was my first time meeting her, and she's a great leftist energy also. So the conversation was nice and easy, and it was a good time. But I am definitely, it's hair of the dog today. I'm a hair of the dog.
Well, I can confirm that does track because I don't know if I've hung out with Tina and not stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning. So
I mean, she's awesome, and she will hang out as long as everyone is hanging out, which is, lots of fun. Lots of fun. And I just need to, maybe not imbibe quite so much every time I'm with her. But what are you gonna do? That's just what that's what it is. All right, let's talk about real stuff. And this will be sort of a fun but super. I mean, this is just the people in power are giving us a lot of material for today's show. So we will get to that in a moment. We first want to thank, as always, our wonderful pup heroes and sheroes, our members. We love and adore you guys. We had a really long meeting with Zainab on Thursday about the show that we're working on. So we're excited about that. We'll tell you more as we get closer to being able to actually launch, but we're really excited. And, the ability to take some time off work is because of you guys. So thank you for doing that for all of us. So cheers to all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. The show with Zainab is going to be a series of several shows, but we'll release it like once a week. But we're in discussions on that.
We're in discussions, but I mean, we're getting it all together.
We're doing it.
Yes, we're doing it. And yes, please make sure to like and subscribe and smash that notification bell, all of that good stuff. And should we just get into it? Talk about our cheers? Are we spinning? This is the part that I need a little
we're working on it. You need some flashcards.
Yeah, I need a flashcard. I need a bullet point.
Let's do a cheers and then we'll spin the wheel.
Okay. First things first, I had to have another sip. So, you know, something interesting is happening actually with the whole Musk Tesla Cybertruck situation. People are taking their anger directly to those Tesla showrooms and protesting, putting their bodies on the line, getting arrested, and it is making that brand toxic. And the shareholders are probably going to have a come to Elon moment where they decide maybe he needs to extricate himself from the business. We'll see. But in the meantime, keep at it. These people are amazing. This is in Manhattan.
What the? Wait, but what are they doing? What is this? Whoa, what the hell? Wait, what is this? What the hell? What do we get a mouth on? Wait, what are you doing to this guy?
My name's Frankie, and I'm getting arrested today protesting Elon Musk. Bought his way into office. He bought his way into heading a government agency. He bought his power at the expense of the American people, at the expense of our environment, at the expense of our world, and all of the people in it.
It's great. I mean, people are like, I think we were talking about New Orleans. They're like, throwing eggs and spray painting them. The swastika is what they're calling it. A swastika.
I love the swastika as well.
Yeah.
Look, every time I see a Cybertruck, it's just the epitome of our fucked up government to me. And like capitalism being such a failure that this piece of shit truck that is ugly as fuck, I have to look at first off. It's terrible on safety. It's terrible on everything. The guy who makes it is fucking bought his way into our government. Our tax dollars are going to be funding his stupid fucking projects. I cannot hate a Cybertruck more. And seeing who drives the Cybertruck, I just think you're the biggest douche I've ever met. And I don't know anything about you.
Exactly.
So let's expand on all that.
Yeah.
Let's make it the really most toxic, uncool thing on earth to own.
Wearing a swastika. Yeah, truly. And it is amazing how incompetent he is. Like we see what he's done with the algorithms and everything in Twitter. We see just like 3 days ago, the fourth of 8 SpaceX Starships exploded. Okay. This was the fourth of 8, the second in just over 2 months. There was another explosion.
Have you considered that rockets are hard?
Can you imagine that that's the response? Keep just pouring money down on me while I explode it. And by the way, it's not just that it doesn't function properly, even though they try to say well, sometimes it was we explode them on purpose. Thanks. But sure. It's like destroying the environment. It's destroying the ozone layer. It's destroying our waters and our land. That is where the debris field is, that big red blob in the ocean around Cuba, which, by the way, imagine if another country did that to us and their, Nazi emerald mine billionaire, know nothing,
right,
exploded his rocket ship phallic symbol all over our country. I don't think we would just sit by idly and accept it.
No, and I saw another. I mean, obviously, the rocket was the big story on the Musk side of disastrous technology. Strike is eating an HDMI cable right now.
Oh no!
But did you see there was another Cybertruck accident where the people were praising that they're alive because the Cybertruck kept them alive, and it's no, the Cybertruck literally caused the fucking accident. Does the car register that you got in a wreck, and then on the screen it says, hey, for $1 million, will you say that this truck kept you alive?
Truly, that's what it feels like.
It feels like that.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. And that's their first go-to is thank goodness it was a Musk Cybertruck.
Right. And meanwhile, when you watch the accident test videos they ever do for these things, it's the biggest piece of shit. It's a death machine. You're going to die in this thing. There was that lady that drowned and was calling from underwater. I can't get out of my Cybertruck, and she drowned and died.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's horrible. It's horrible. And they just keep bailing him out, giving him more contracts. And it's really pretty dispiriting that is happening. And yet the protests are giving me life. And it's affecting even his horrible replacement theory mother, Miss Mate Musk. People who are damaging Tesla cars, stores, and charging stations are either paid for their criminal acts or believe the liberal media lies and should be tagged with oh my God.
It's I find the R word.
Yeah, the R word. I'm beyond.
Which I know very well because they get tagged into my COVID posts.
Really?
They've shown up. I'm probably on their page, honestly, because they've commented on my shit.
I mean, you are a billionaire, mother of a billionaire, and you're like, I don't know. I just can't imagine taking to Twitter to do things like this. But then also what she is quote tweeting is interesting. What that little video says, the Tesla owners Silicon Valley, which is a very, obviously they're probably the ones who quickly funnel the talking points to the people getting the accidents. This is what you say. Yes, we caused the problem, but also thank goodness it was caused by you because you're able to step in and fix it. Is that, BMW and Ford and Mercedes were all real Nazis. He's not a real Nazi. He was trying to just say from my heart. So that's what that video is that she is quote tweeting. Anyway, all embarrassing and just a reminder of who Musk is. That's from him.
Yeah. And obviously we're all on Twitter. I mean, personally, Twitter doesn't work on my phone 90% of the time. And that's really directly because he fired everybody that they said you shouldn't fire to make this thing work.
Yep.
That's why they haven't got it to where it works more than 10% of the time on my phone since his cutoffs.
And also,
so this is the guy we're putting in charge of cutting government programs.
Yeah.
Really? And these tweets from his mom, I mean, I hope she keeps it up. I love seeing them.
Yeah.
It's super villain. She just oozes super villain. Everything she says is terrible. She highlights him who's terrible. So let's get her out there. Put her on Twitter more.
Yeah, that's a good comment. I wonder if she owns a bunch of Dalmatians. Absolutely. That's what she looks like, Cruella DeVille. Anthony Berg, thank you so much for the super chat. And yes, how about government-funded NASA, which was incredibly successful 60 years ago? We should not be privatizing everything. It's just really...
And we're going to give all that NASA shit to fucking Musk. I just cannot believe we're all sitting around watching this happen and nobody is literally, well, we got these people going after Tesla, but that's got to be the start of us fighting this.
I mean, it might just be that they've gone so far that people really are, coming out in the streets, protesting and making that brand so horrendous and embarrassing that it causes financial damage for them. But what they'll do is they'll just do what they did with Trump and his kids with having to dissociate yourself from all your business interests, and then he'll just be
blind trust,
a silent partner or whatever.
Right. He's no longer involved in decision making for that, but I don't even see them doing that because, look at all these things where Trump is just on TV saying, well, if there's a problem, Musk is going to point it out to us if there's a conflict of interest. And there's no pushback on that. I mean, there's dance videos of Democrats going, we can't take this,
Oh my God. Yeah.
But you're in politics. Maybe use some legal measures.
Are there any regulations that we could get? I know. Well, he's basically gutting every agency that could provide oversight. And if they've been doing their jobs for the 4 years as Democrats, which they really were starting to do, but had maybe enshrined some real regulations that they followed up on and gave penalties for, including when Obama created, the Liz Warren management budget.
protection.
Yeah, the Consumer Protection Agency. But
CMFB.
it just never has enough teeth for people to feel a difference, and it's not widespread enough. So like it's always just tinkering out around the edges, and then it's something that they're rolling back. Like, finally there was sort of like an automatic refund if your flight was delayed over a certain number of hours, or if they lost your bags or any of that, and they're trying to do away with that. It's like everything is just so minor and small. There needs to be, was she the one who said big systemic change? Because I don't even think she meant big systemic change. Like, but the system has to be completely gutted entirely and replace it with socialism, which at some point, and then I know we're going to spin the wheel, but Jason Hickel, terrible that they're even like that, so opposite ends. But he was posting a lot about how all these studies, including studies over like decades, over 6 decades, 5 decades, even ones by right-wing think tanks, have shown and come to the conclusion that socialist countries are far preferable and create better systems than capitalists. And that, that's why we overthrow every socialist government and then say, see, they don't work.
Yeah. And I just really think, like, in this time now when we're watching the Tate brothers get released for fucking sexual trafficking and rape and underage, everything. And the government, Trump, is just behind all this. Like, I don't know. You got to look at this and think there's no solution with Democrats involved. Like, they're not doing anything about this stuff. Like,
we're going to show you what they're doing. They're killing it.
So
they're killing it.
Right.
Doug,
thank you, Doug.
Thank you so much. Cheers to you. Yes, Bernie fighting oligarchy Midwest rallies are incredibly popular. He had another one in Kenosha. Is that Wisconsin, I think, yesterday or 2 nights ago. And, again, like, the point of us showing that isn't because we think that, or talking about it, isn't because we think that Bernie is the one to save us anymore. I think he woke a lot of us up. Everybody has different feelings of warmth towards him for the before times. He is not going to save us. He should have been doing a lot more when his good friend Joe was in power. But I think the important part of that is that people are hungry for a leftist economic model. And that is what he cites. And people want that. And even in Republican strongholds, they are coming out in blizzard weather, lining up, for blocks to see an 83-year-old man say the same thing he's been saying about economic policy for 4 decades. And they want that. I mean, that's why they have the Stop Bernie messages, right? Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah. And I love that he's out there doing that still, as much as I have my issues with Bernie.
Yeah.
But what it needs to lead to is us pushing the supporters that he's getting on board for the first time to also believe the message that voting in the midterms doesn't fix this. Voting in 4 years doesn't fix this. He needs to leverage that, and we need to leverage those people into, here's a direct action we're going to do to stop the government. Democrats can't even stop themselves because they're the enemy also.
I think the more people wake up to that, they'll understand how important it is to disillusion people from the idea that Democrats are the lesser evil, that it's not just two sides of the exact same coin.
That's absolutely true. But the problem is these people are coming on board now like we did 6 years ago. So they're adopting his message for the first time. And the first time you hear it, you think, well, Bernie's got a chance to win or something. And that he could, we can take over the Democratic Party, And so if the message, they're so far behind the curve of where we were, that yes, it's helping get people to believe that our system is wrong, but the solution they won't realize for 4 more years when they're become completely disillusioned like we are.
Yeah.
With the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I hope we all make it 4 years. Okay. Before we get too depressed, should we spin the wheel and then we can get to the stuff?
Let's
Get to
do it.
the meat. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
All right. Well, I do have a full glass of wine, so I'm good for the time being. All right.
Actually, let's see some dogs do some damage.
Oi.
That wasn't actually all that relaxing for me. For as much as I'm always stressful, saying things about Strike peeing on you and Pablo, lest you think that that my dog is perfect, that my animal behaves well. When Josh and I were having a little bit of a fight a couple nights ago, we looked over and she had totally destroyed one of our like little throw area. A little mat, but I thought we were way past that stage.
She's teaching you a lesson, don't fight and get along.
Yeah.
Get along. Yeah. I like that lady that got yeeted at the front yard. She just disappeared like zoop.
That happens also, which isn't great for
No, when I was a kid, our dog got out when he was on my leash, but I was so small that I hung on and he literally dragged me and I had a scar for the longest time on my hand from like being dragged on the ground.
It's like water skiing on cement. I know that happened to my kids too.
Yeah,
it's pretty scary. All right, let's get into it. We are in major cringe times. Last week we talked about Gavin Newsom starting a new podcast, which he proudly said that he was going to have lots of MAGA on, launching his own podcast and inviting MAGA favorites. And he retweeted this, which is one thing to have these people on and discuss the ideas and why your ideas are better and why theirs are contributing to the destruction of our country and the world. That's not at all what he did. I've just suffered through his podcast. His, maiden voyage was he invited Charlie Kirk, Christian nationalist, founder of Turning Point USA, racist, Zionist, all around disgusting man on his show. This is how go ahead.
Well, we always say this, but it's not that you shouldn't talk to these people. It's it's what's the discourse that happens. But also, this is one of the worst offenders. Like these are the guys that are as close to the Nazi enablers that you can get. Like they are attacking all the marginalized groups constantly. So that's what you need to fight them on. And this is the opposite of that.
It was really a repulsive display of unctuousness, like just gross. But we'll start with the beginning part of welcome to the Gavin Newsom podcast.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed, he's like, "No, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie gonna be here? What time?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're in school tomorrow." He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, "I'm coming." I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is the point, which is you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
When you go to these college campuses, I love watching your TikTok, which is next level. And clearly that's expressed by my 13-year-old son.
I want to meet this guy.
Yeah, I actually
He's coming to a Turning Point event this summer, Tampa, Florida, Student Action Summit.
I actually am by the way, if
you should be concerned.
But so let me say, here is why I'm concerned, because you have expressed that I should be concerned as a Democrat, that we're getting clobbered.
Okay. Yes.
That you've figured something out.
It's not me. The president first deserves the credit.
But why? No, hold on. You were at this before Trump was Trump.
I know, but
he was a Democrat back in 2011 and 12.
The president deserves huge credit. And I just have to say that as an obligatory thing, because without him, our movement would be small. And you can appreciate that in politics. You have to appreciate the person who is the catalyst.
For you, that's what you sort of attached an identity with.
It was also just the catalyst. It was a cultural moment that just opened us up.
So even there, right? Like, first of all, what's progressive governor of California having a 13-year-old son who just loves Charlie Kirk? What's going on in that house? Like, surely, what? Like, I mean, how is that okay?
Look, I don't want to get into Newsom's personal life too much, but like, obviously, he cheated on his wife. He's probably a parachute dad.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I don't want to attack him on that stuff. But yeah, why is your kid, and why are you saying, "Oh, I love your TikToks"? Like,
yeah,
this is Nazi appeasement shit. Like, these guys are destroying the rights. They're going out to the marginalized people. They're going to go out to the disabled people. They're cutting every program to keep people on the fringe of society, which is actually, when I say fringe, I mean, I'm talking like the bottom 15% of the country is just going to die without social services. I mean, that's what these guys want and are doing actively.
Yep.
And this just feels like Nazi appeasement. Like, well, they like your Nazi ideas.
Yeah, you're doing such great work on college campuses. It's awesome.
Let's talk about your Nazi ideas.
I mean, it just keeps getting worse. So we have like 6 or 7 different clips. This is the one that really got a lot of Democrats who, by the way, like we all know, but the whole lie that like, oh, Kamala, it was kowtowing to trans rights. That's what ended it. That's why she didn't win. If Democrats want to ever win again, they have to throw trans people under the bus. Like, she did not do that at all. There was the one event that happened when she was AG where somebody who needed trans surgery, who was in prison, was able to get it under some like government funding. But for the most part, she has a horrible record on everything. Like, she's never spoken up for anybody. She kept people in prison. She didn't speak up for people now. And in fact, when she was asked about it on the campaign trail, and she's like, I think we have to just let it go back to the states, however things are decided. That's not an answer of somebody who's a champion for civil rights. That's ridiculous. So anyway, but now all of a sudden there are some Democrats who are furious about this part of the podcast, which is interesting because I think it has more to do with them trying to tear down Gavin Newsom because they're possibly wanting to make their own runs in 2028.
So like, you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand.
The crazy thing is that response, or the start of that clip with Charlie Kirk saying somebody's about to win a title who's a trans woman, and you could come out and say something about it, was in response to Gavin Newsom saying to him, what do we need to do to win? What do Dems need to do to win? You're doing such a great job with your podcast. And Kirk says, it's not about, we have a better message than you do, which I don't agree with that. But the response from Newsom could have been what he actually wants to accomplish, what his message is, what's his ideology. It's never that. But instead, he goes down this disgusting path and doesn't answer, it doesn't, we have a clip from 2023 where he handles it the way a politician should, who has something to say that's critical of the other party who's making this an issue. It's not an issue, actually. We know it's not really an issue. It's been made into one.
Yeah, and look, I think we both agree that it's okay to discuss where these things present themselves to create fairness for women as well. Like,
Right.
I mean, for cis women, like
Right.
you shouldn't be not allowed to have the discussion. It doesn't mean there isn't a right position on it, but like, if you want to win people over, you have to discuss it and have that talk.
Yeah.
But he's selling them out is the point. And he's planning on selling him out because Kamala's going to run for governor to replace him. And he's going to try to run for president. And he wants to be centrist and Republican.
Exactly. And, just as a reminder, this is the statistic. There are 510,000 athletes in NCAA schools. Fewer than 10 are transgender. So this is, and it doesn't mean that people can't have, good faith discussions about what fairness is. I mean, I would point out that, men are born different. Also, I have a 5'8" son and I have a 6'2" son. And the 5'8" son has always wanted to be 6'2". He was a basketball player. He wants to, there are going to be differences anyway and unfairnesses, but to go down the road of the worst intentioned take is really gross. This is how yeah.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, the thing is, he's here leaning towards Kirk's position and going, oh, I should understand your position, not you should understand mine.
Yeah.
Which, if you have this discussion with someone you vehemently disagree with, that has to be the lead, especially it's your fucking show. So you didn't get bamboozled into saying this Republican stuff.
Right.
This is what you wanted to be the message.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Exactly. Yeah. This is who he invited on for his very first show to then basically agree with the guy, tell him how great he is. And do you have any advice for Democrats? So this was his response 2 years ago.
Vice presidential candidate.
The transgender issue came up. Why should parents not know if their kids are transitioning in school?
It's a hell of a thing. You're talking about 1% of the population. Climate change that's impacted 100% of the population wasn't even brought up. And we're talking about trans issues.
Here in California, this is an issue.
This is a front and center issue.
Big issue for parents.
This is a front and center issue.
Big issue for parents. You just vetoed a bill
It's
and
the
then
great.
passed the bill.
It's the great. This is one of the greatest distractions, and it's classic. 1% of the population in the United States. These kids just want to live. These kids just want to live. And we're having a debate about trans issues at the Reagan Library.
It's about parents.
Well, your Democrats are the ones that are proposing it.
Yeah, you'll off.
So that reporter should be ashamed, but here he is headlining his podcast with this shit.
Yeah, it's really gross. All right, should we keep going? Or did you want to show any of the responses or the discussions?
Yeah,
about it?
Sure. Which
Slotkin?
one? That's the question. Yeah, Slotkin. Let's do Slotkin.
Here we go.
And Slotkin.
Would you say no men?
Go ahead.
Just for anyone that doesn't know, she was the one gifted the response to Trump's State of the Union because she is seen as the Democratic rising star.
Ex-CIA, endorsed by Liz Cheney, rising star of the Democrats, who in her response was praising Reagan. Yeah.
Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness. So it's deeply unfair. I revere sports. And so the issue of fairness is completely legit.
Senator, do you agree with Governor Newsom?
Well, look, I think, you'll have to talk to Mr. Newsom and his podcast, and we're all talking about it now because it's, good controversy. For me, I grew up playing 3 seasons of sports. In Michigan, sports is like our religion, right? I wouldn't be here, I think, without the leadership training that I got in women's sports. But for me, it's like, let the local community figure this out, right? In Michigan, we have a process in place where if someone who's born a boy wants to play in women's sports, you have to get a waiver. We've had it happen 2 times in our entire state. So let the local communities, just like everything with schools, handle that issue. For me, though, I think, you know, this issue is being sort of brought up in order to make sparks and see sparks fly.
Let the bigoted states and cities take care of it. I have nothing to say on a national level.
Let your Illinois Nazis decide this one. You know, that's a shout out to the Blues Brothers. But the problem is you can't on bigger issues when it comes to civil rights and human rights and equality. That's the whole point, is you need federal law to protect those rights.
Right.
And the Democrats are sitting there going, you know, let the red states kill their disableds.
Yeah. Yeah. In a democracy, the majority wins, but the minority is still supposed to be protected from the dastardly deeds and, you know, institutionalized bigotry and racism and suppression of marginalized groups. So there are all sorts of answers to give, and both of those people failed. All right, this was talking about, God, Gavin Newsom is just so slimy. He's just so icky. Talking about what should the Democratic response be to everything that's going on. Here's the thing. First of all, his overuse of, we're going to stress test this. He kept talking about everything with Kirk. He keeps talking like, it's just stress test. Let's see how this holds up, right? Like, it doesn't poll well. It polls well. Everything is about, like, how do you appeal to all of these, you know, angry men? And the truth is, Charlie Kirk, I mean, disgusting. But at the beginning, he was like, Democrats had nothing to say when young Americans were seeing that they have no chance at the American dream. And he's right. They were just like, no, the economy is great. You're doing great. What are we going to do? His solution for it is disgusting and racist and bigoted, and doesn't really talk about anything that would materially help people financially. But as we all know, when Democrats leave that void, or when people who have a solution, could be a solution, leave a void, then, you know, the right comes in and takes advantage of that to spread their horrific agenda. So, you know, the plan.
I mean, might I suggest then, if the Democrats ever get a supermajority in California, they have one. They literally have a supermajority in California. They had it more or less for 10 years, but I mean, it's kind of little windows of it falling away.
Yep.
And that window is where they start suggesting some real policies again, because like, we don't have the supermajority. Let's put out some
talk about Medicare for all. Yeah, exactly.
But look, we're like the 5th biggest economy in the world, or 7th, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th, something in there. As a state, we could provide Medicare for all as an example to people on how this works. Democrats would hold power forever. Instead, we got the top guy in a supermajority, allegedly the most progressive state in the nation, possibly next to New York. And the Democratic Party isn't going for universal health care anymore. It's not in the platform. They removed it from the platform. They removed raising the minimum wage from the platform.
Nothing's going to change until we get money out of politics. It's just, you know, they know what's popular. They have all the polls. They're not cowards. They're not feckless. It's not that they don't know how to fight. They do. They fight it. They fight the left every chance they get. This is the system working exactly as they want it to work. So here they go. This is his talk on Carville's advice to just lie back and let the country burn.
I think you talked about it the other day. A lot of folks were talking about that Carville article where he talked about
roll over and play dead.
Roll over. In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. This was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And I immediately, no BS, thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone, owning this space, every day getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000 folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment to finally strike. Struck me as not necessarily the best advice, and it's not a knock on Carville, who I have deep respect for. What's your thoughts?
That's okay. So I don't have to. He's right about one thing in the last 40 years. Its economy is stupid, and boy, he spent down that one line pretty amazingly. Yeah, I hope you guys retreat.
You kind of like the
more
advice.
For us.
You like
I mean,
the advice.
there's no opposition. There's no activist spark. You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know.
most
This
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators all saying the same
Oh, you
thing.
didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it.
What do you-
go
what do
ahead. Go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some
Get
advice.
better ideas, Governor.
I mean, it's like the broken clock thing. Yeah. Get better ideas and actually fight for them with conviction.
And yeah, Carville is wrong. You don't retreat, right? So Newsom understands that part, but you don't like, hey, we lost. We join you now. Like we lost, so we're going to join you. Not retreat. We're going to kind of get out there with our own Republican version of all this stuff because you didn't like us. We're not cool. You guys got those red hats. We got to get some purple hats or something, man.
Pink. Why not your pink pussy hats? Great idea. And your little like get out auction placards. Yeah. All right. There was one more that I wanted to show. And then I want to show, we should show a couple of Charlie Kirk's like most vile tirades. But
yeah. And we have more cringe coming outside of the cringe category because there's just so much cringe. We're just breaking it all up.
Yeah, exactly. We're just focusing on Newsom right now because that was particularly bad. Prop 16 was a few years ago, and it was to enshrine affirmative action and quotas, and it did not pass, but Newsom supported it, and Charlie Kirk is asking him. Well, here I'll show it, and then I'll just because I don't remember the beat right before, but fucking Newsom, he's just so gross. Okay, here we go.
By the way, you're talking to someone who's never supported the defund police movement.
I know, but
I was explicit. But
also,
also,
one second, you did support Prop 16 in 2020, which would have legalized racial prejudice, right? Prop 16 literally would, and it
I have to go back to my Prop 13.
You know it. You're smart.
No.
Prop 16.
I taught 960 SAT, so a little humility.
Hold on, no, you're the governor of the largest state in the
understand.
country. No. I saw your debate against DeSantis. You're good at this stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Prop 16 would have had legalized racial prejudice, which would, and it got defeated by 16 points despite all the institutions. So you're asking me, what did wokeism look like? When California, when all the institutions, yourself included, with all due respect, embraced this insane ballot measure. Guess what? Even the people of California didn't want racial discrimination.
Remember, California since 1996 has had Prop 209s. Okay.
There was, city council meetings where they said the white people aren't allowed here, right?
And that's not good.
No, it's not good.
Stuff, yeah.
And so what that ends up happening is a broader question of sensible, not racist suburban moms that are like, wait a second. I have a 8-year-old white son. Are you trying to say he's a racist?
Yeah.
And it creates a backlash that then bubbles up, right?
I appreciate that perspective.
No,
Doesn't
I appreciate
push
it.
back
You're right.
at all. You're right. No, I appreciate that. That's good. You're right. People who, have been redlined and marginalized, and we don't invest in their communities, and we jail them. And by the way, I was not please don't ever think that I was with the yahoos who wanted to defund the police when we're watching like toddlers, lying on the ground with their hands handcuffed behind them, and people being shot and protesters being, assaulted. Please don't for a second think that I'm standing up for anybody's civil rights. I mean, really.
Oh, defund the police. Oh my God. Fuck that. Fuck that. I was never for that.
I mean,
and this whole thing, like,
that's an ad right there.
Why does it feel like this was the Charlie Kirk show?
Yeah.
Like, he's literally handing everything to this guy. He looks like if you just went on optics and you just went on strategy and you said, this is to win over Republicans to the Democratic message. No, this looks like an interview he went on Fox and got owned by.
Yeah. 100%. Because, and you know, they keep talking like, what is the message? I know we talk about this all the time, but you know, to beat fascism, you need socialism. We all know it. And they will never embrace these, you know, broad universal programs because they're paid not to. So then they're stuck. What do? Like, what do you do? It is just about messaging. Do you look cool? Do you have cool friends? Do you have the right slogan? Even though everybody knows that, you know, when Joe Biden said healthcare is a human right, or Kamala says when we fight, we win, like those aren't from their own histories or their ideology. They're co-opting leftist language. Just gross.
Yeah, and now and this is how much power we as progressives have lost within the Democratic Party.
Yes.
When you see Newsom going from the party that at least co-opted progressive shit because they knew it was popular to completely pretending that the progressive stuff isn't popular,
right?
And they have to move more right. And so that's why I'm going to learn some lessons from Charlie fucking Kirk.
I mean, nobody, I mean, obviously I know nobody that we're talking to has any faith in the Democratic Party, but God, you're fighting against people who are destroying the country, who are like one mistake after another, firing, rehiring, their, you know, products are blowing up. They are having meetings, and we'll get to this, but you know, like the cabinet meetings, and they're all at each other's throat. There's no consistency. It's all happening in this crazy, chaotic way. If you actually had an ideology that people are hungry for, you could beat these people. You could beat a racist reality TV show star.
And that does bring up another reason I will support burning his messaging out there, because it does show you clear as fucking day there's an appetite for this shit.
Right.
I mean, for the truth, you know.
Right.
But just don't tell me to vote for Biden to solve this or something, you know, like
exactly.
cut the crap. But
yeah. 100%. All right. This was, I mean, there's so many things, but just, you know, he is a white nationalist, Christo-fascist Zionist guy, and every opportunity he gets. Actually, Tina was at a protest. I think he was speaking at UCLA yesterday. You know, he does this thing. I guess he didn't get into West Point. That's where he went to go. And they have a whole discussion about education, and Kirk talks about how liberals and Republicans have swapped, where liberals used to be the ones who were more skeptical of institutions, and now they embrace them fully. And his thought is because Newsom's like, oh, I didn't get a good SATs. I got 940 or whatever he got. And trying to kind of like make himself like a man of the people. Like, I don't know education for me. And Charlie Kirk says, you know, because liberals go to college at a much higher, you know, rate than Republicans, they have a trust in the institutions to which they belong. And the way he started, he didn't get into West Point. He didn't even graduate from community college. He would set up a table on college campuses, and it would just say, debate me. And he would talk to anybody anywhere, which if you truly believe in, and he did research enough that he could hold his own, even though, you know, tons of lies and all of that. But like, he was doing on a very small level what we need anybody who wants to lead the free world to do. Talk to anybody anywhere and convince them.
But the problem always with these debate bros is then they leverage their 30-second clip where they actually do own a dumb lib.
Yeah.
And it becomes like, that's how it always is. He's out there owning the libs on this desk. No, he gets owned like 9 out of 10 times he talks. But, you know.
No, he's deeply ignorant, and he'll find like one crazy statistic that's probably wrong, or like a junk study, science study, you know, and he'll bring that out. And then the person maybe doesn't have knowledge of that particular point and so can't really rebut it, and then he gets to win. No, he's gross, but that was his, way of doing things, coming out there and schooling everybody and acting like he, he's the original debate me bro. So this is him talking with, I think this is his own podcast, but everything he says is just so disgusting. So black pilots.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
You want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
So I just want to point out that this was like a month or two ago. Like, this is not some archive looking for shit that he said that is bad. Like, this should be on Gavin's mind to bring up. Like, you said some disgusting things about DEI, and like, do you really feel like a white pilot with a square chin is the solution? Like, do you just not like black people? Let's talk about this, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. There's a way to hand it back to them. He just totally normalized Charlie Kirk. He made him cool. He's asking him for advice.
It's no different than Jimmy Dore and Steve Bannon. It's
100%. Yeah.
It's the same bullshit. Challenge these people.
The only difference is Jimmy Dore is like, maybe just because I'm in California, but like, I never need to think about Jimmy Dore. He's just some like wackadoo right winger with a podcast. And gross that he normalizes, Bannon, and that he has him on and doesn't push back. And I don't like the way he treated Cornel West, and he didn't treat RFK Jr. Like, there's a lot to say about him, but this is the governor of the 5th largest economy in the world. Having the TP USA guy on and making him cool. My kid loves you. You're doing magical work. How do I do it? How can I be more like you? It's just
and this, the podcast is supposed to be to get Democrats. It's supposed to be for centrists, but really it's just an advertisement to Republicans, which is why he's doing this. He's trying to get Republican votes. So it's like Charlie Kirk's audience will come to him and see that he's sort of Republican. That's it.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess I'll keep saying the same shit.
No, but it's just massively gross. So I don't think, we have a couple more clips, but it's not even worth it. It's gross. And here's the other thing though. If you want to have MAGA on your show, if you have somebody who's like one of the leaders of it, then yes, you then combat him and make him look as small and hateful as he truly is. But the other way to do it, and again, like, Bernie's not my savior, none of that kind of stuff, but you go and you talk to people. Like, why do you believe this? Do you know that in 32 of 33 industrialized countries, everybody gets healthcare? Did you know that? We're the richest country. And you convince them, like, we all deserve a living wage. Like, you break it down. That's how you get converts. All he's converting is people who are now probably like, oh, I had always heard such bad things about Charlie Kirk. He seems kind of cool, and Newsom likes him, and his kid likes him. How bad could that be? Like, Dems just, destroying themselves. It's really amazing.
I guess we should move on from Kirk and him, but there are so many clips from this thing that were just disgusting.
There really were. Should we spin and then move on to Dems?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Spinning now.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, that's good because I definitely need to do a refill. And I'm closing it and spinning again.
Yeah, baby.
I'll top it up a little more. I think maybe you should just pick something there. Or we could be stuck here for a while. 1 second.
All right, let's roll with the parkour.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's it. Keep going, keep going. One more, one more. Yeah!
Okay, I'm realizing that the two things that I picked this week are very stressful, actually. Watching people do that like makes me but I have to say this is like the fourth show in a row where people are kind of begging us to bring back the shots. I feel it.
You guys are all enablers.
That's fun. All right, let's move on to the response, to the State of the Union or the joint session from last week, which was mostly muted nothingness. We saw the Democrats with their signs. The only person who spoke out was, I think he's like 70, 73, Al Green, shaking his cane and saying, you do not have a mandate to cut Medicare. So for that, Republicans got together with 10 Democrats, by the way. Yep.
Yeah.
Resolution to censure Al Green. This is how they're using their time as the world burns. You might want to take a screenshot of the 10 Democrats who joined with the Republicans to censure him. One of whom was Marcy Kaptur. That was really disappointing because she's, she's like a working class union person who kind of, made fun of or showed her contempt for JD Vance when he showed up at a strike rally. But anyway, these 10
Democrats love their norms.
They love their norms.
Even if they're Nazis, we got to let the rule of law and precedent and the norms go through here.
And they also love symbolic bullshit like this.
By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. The House had come to order. The House had come to order.
I hate these fuckers.
What's it?
They're literally.
The House has come to order. Clear the well, please. Clear the well. The House has to continue its business.
The conversation is like, hey, should we just let them keep this stupid shit up? Let's just let them do their stupid fucking shit. They're gonna look so dumb to their own base doing this stuff. Yeah, let them do it.
This has just been such a week for Democrats between, and there's a lot more videos, but like the scripted 22 senators using the exact same words, the exact phrasing, the same clips, the same graphics in a heartfelt, response to what's happening with the Republicans.
Acting. It's just like you can't even from your heart. Like, okay, the Democratic Party spits out this message, say some shit like this, and you're like, oh yeah, I could do that because I'm angry. but I'm not just going to read a script like with another 20 fucking Democrats. It's the same thing.
Right.
No, but they did that. They just faked outrage all in sync.
Like even the same that like whatever Trump is saying, that's bullshit. Like they all started it the exact same way, saying bullshit. Like that's edgy. Here's a little more edgy for you. Did you see at the third thing, like it listed a couple of their who they are, an accomplishment, and then it was like loves her hair dye, or people say I'm too nice, or like.
Oh, I read them all.
Oof. Yeah.
What the fuck are they thinking with this stuff? It just doesn't mean the moment. It's like that's the kind of ad you run if you're running for class president at your junior high school.
And
like
you'd get eaten up behind the bike racks after school. But yeah.
And
exactly.
and you're still going to get mocked for it. Like
Yeah.
it's cringe at any age, dude. That is cringe.
It's cringe.
And this is what Democratic consultants are like. Someone got paid like $3 million contract to put this thing out or something. You know?
Gross. Just for contrast, in New York City, we have Zohran Mamdani. We've shown he's a socialist running for mayor of New York City against Andrew Cuomo, who every Democrat should be completely condemning and distancing themselves from, but they're not. Jeffries is fine with him. We'll let the people decide. Not going to talk about his corruption, his handling of COVID, killing 10,000 elderly people, sending them, to nursing homes. Not going to talk about all the sexual harassment and assault cases against him. But this is the way you might fight back against somebody if you actually have an ideology.
I want to tell you about who we're running against. A guy who cut Medicaid and stole money from the MTA, who says he's fighting for the working class but showered his rich donors with tax breaks. And when he was accused of serial sexual misconduct, spent years hounding the women who spoke out. No, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Andrew Cuomo.
I was grateful that he supported the campaign.
Mr. Cuomo says he will not be returning any of Donald Trump's money.
Now he's decided to move from Westchester to New York City with the promise of leading us through the chaos of Donald Trump. But Andrew Cuomo is the chaos.
The governor sexually harassed multiple women.
Intentionally delayed releasing COVID death numbers at nursing homes.
Profited on a book while others were dying.
From our subways.
Claustrophobia, panic, heat exhaustion.
Is Governor Cuomo raiding New York City taxpayer dollars at the expense of the MTA?
To our schools.
Cuomo has cut taxes on millionaires, estates, and banks while reducing spending on public schools.
To the hospitals that could have saved more lives during the pandemic.
I would call Governor Cuomo probably the single most important person in terms of the drive to close down hospital beds.
Time and time again, Andrew Cuomo has put billionaires and book deals before you. And he's waited this long to announce his run for mayor to avoid answering why.
I thought your question was stupid. Let's try not to be obnoxious.
I think New Yorkers are hungry for a different kind of politics, one that puts working people first. And that's exactly what our campaign is doing. So every door you knock, every dollar you donate, you help us take one step closer to building a city that working class people can actually afford.
That's the message when you are not beholden to your donors, right? He's awesome.
And instead, you got the Democratic Party propping this guy up, who everything that Zohan said was true about Cuomo.
Yep.
And again, it just goes to you're giving the right whataboutism space. You're letting them go, hey, what about Cuomo with like, yeah, we should be fighting the Tate, pardons or whatever.
Yeah.
Using our government to get a rapist off, a fucking sex trafficker out. And now all the MAGA folks are like cozying up to him. You got the UFC guy and they're all high-fiving and everybody's hugging this guy. That should be like a clear message to kids because, kids, the youth that we're losing, half of them looked up to him, but half of them realize he's a piece of shit.
Right.
And now we're just normalizing him not being that piece of shit. So like the misogyny and just disgusting stuff that this guy spews is just normal to Democrats now too. But you can't do that when you have guys like Cuomo that you're supporting.
100%. I mean, listen, Democrats killed the Me Too movement. They bring fucking Epstein, Lolita Express, Bill Clinton to talk at their big convention. He still is Dem royalty. Nobody cares. They killed defund the police. They killed so you cannot run. Sorry, I'm trying to read everybody's different comments here. You can't run on trying to beat corruption while you are also enabling it, as you said. And the fact that Democrats are getting behind Cuomo, or at least not lambasting him, is another. I mean, how many more revealing moments or instructive moments do people need? It's repulsive.
I mean, and here we are in New York with Adams. Like, you're going to replace Adams, the most blatantly corrupt guy. Like, even the media now is saying like, oh, he's owned by Trump and this was a deal with the devil to not prosecute him so that he does whatever the fuck Trump wants. And it's all happening right in front of everybody. And you can't even get Democrats to come out against Adams.
Yeah, nope, you can't. And actually explicitly said, don't come out against him. I think the Black Caucus asked the Democratic Black Caucus, because they don't want to see a high level person of color being taken down by the party. They think it's bad optics. But the truth is, if Democrats had the conviction that they should, they would be doing this with a lot of their members. And then there wouldn't be bad optics because there are a lot more white people in Congress than Black people. And they have tons of corruption that they could be dealing with. But instead, nobody ever says anything. So then if you do it once, it can be taken like, oh, it's really indicative of a racist party.
All right. If you want to buy that argument as some sort of optics thing, make an example out of Cuomo. It's right there. It's right there.
Oh, anti-Italian.
He's right there.
So anti-Italian.
Instead, you got Democratic leadership literally mad at any sort of protesting stuff going on. Like, hey, we got to stop the Nazis in 2 years and 4 years, but don't do anything right now to stop the Nazis because that's going to be bad for us in the election. Because we're really going to run on James Carville, like, hey, we got to sleep and let Republicans fail on their own. Why do we want to get in there when people are going to see how unpopular the gas chambers were?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I mean, yeah, exactly. Let everybody just burn to the ground. Or the bottom, the people who are disposable, which, Democrats actually talked about people that way, people who are going to fall by the wayside, or unfortunately, we're going to have to die because they weren't as strong as the rest of us. And then where do you go from there? And they are adopting, Laura Loomer put out some dumb tweet after the joint session saying that, after their childlike display behavior, Democrats can kiss 2026 and 2028 goodbye tonight after their childlike behavior. A leader of the Democratic Party would respond to that with what's happening in the Republican Party that is in power now, and how it's like a bunch of, toddlers trying to run a country and all of the mistakes they're making and all the people they're really harming. But they kind of are fine with it. They don't really have a solution. So now Democrats are just going to adopt Republican talking points. Be civil, be high-minded, follow the rules.
And I mean, it's not lost on us that following that State of the Union was when this Newsom shit went down. So Newsom in the podcast comes out after the State of the Union where they're like, look how feckless they are. And now you got the Democrat going, well, tell me how to beat you. What do we do?
It's so embarrassing. It also is interesting because he's sort of seen as like, he took on DeSantis. He likes to get into these fights with Republicans. He actually, even though I don't think he has conviction, but he speaks really well about what he thinks progressives will think is the correct way of doing things, when he wants to, or he has in the past. And the fact that this is a very conscious choice on all of their parts to once again move further right than like, I mean, I don't even know that ratchet effect has made everybody just goose step right off the fucking cliff at this point.
Yeah, and with Newsom, the danger is that he really is probably the front runner for the next presidential election, which means what he's doing now is heavily workshopped and strategic.
Yep.
And it's forecasting that the Democratic Party is going to go just crazy right, which is going to pull all the centrist Democrats that think they could beat him right, because they know they can't be on the left on their own.
Right.
Because they'll get slaughtered, burnied,
Yep.
It's just, and this is liberal California, this is progressive California. So the whole party is moving hard right, period, end of stop. Bernie can try to get out there and say you should support this stuff that's progressive, but it's not going to move the party left. The party will never let the party move left. And that our centrist friends are 6 years, 7 years behind that message that we all understand by now.
Exactly. Here's some more TikTok cringe from one of our representatives coming at you.
Yo, this is the Ranking Rizzler on appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties. House appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag. We are the bag. Democrats are making life smoother through government funding. It's giving, skibbity. So Sigma, main character energy. But Republicans' Project 2025 is mad sus. Eliminating the Department of Education? Negative aura points. Basically, the biggest phantom tax on the environment, on your education, and your rights. Big L posting it online, buddy. Democrats understood the assignment, but go off. See how I keep you informed? Very cutesy, very demure.
I don't have guns in my house.
What'd you say?
So, never mind. I didn't say that.
I mean, it's just like getting everything wrong about what works. And again, like the only reason we keep bringing up Bernie again is not because we don't all know that he's just gonna sheep herd everybody right back into the Democratic Party in the end because it's the lesser evil and you got to vote for. I know all of that. That's not the point. The point is, here is an 83-year-old man who, as we all heard, like he's even having issues with his dentures. He's hunched over. He's not doing silly TikTok videos. He is talking about policy. He's asking people questions. What are you scared about? He's listening to them. He's not trying to be cute. He is, whatever you think about him, the reason that people respond to him is partly, yes, they like his ideas, but also he doesn't do that kind of shit. Like he just wants to talk about what he thinks is going to help you. And that is appealing to most people.
That's the message. The message isn't, he doesn't dye his hair purple to appeal to the purple haired leftists. He wore his shitty ass shoes. He got in trouble for having a second jacket, But it's the message. And what's her message? What was the message in that? The skibbity purple hair Rizzler.
And I know how to use like sus and giving cringe or whatever the hell. I mean,
it's as empty as it gets. And it's just cringe. It's like, even if there was some point to the video, like some strategist has to get in there and go, we should not do this. Let's just not do it. Even if it's just strategy, this is awful.
Well, a strategist probably got paid a ton of money to make.
Of course they did.
So like, that's the best. How do we win? Justin Kirk.
It's giving
what's
brat.
his name? Charlie Kirk. Okay. I mean, we're gonna giving brat. Your favorite.
Keep pushing buttons. Sorry.
I know. I'm not touching anything. Pat, your favorite censor on the internet. Adam Schiff has some suggestions on how to handle Trump.
We need to speak out. We need to be courageous. They come after me all the time. Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they call me a criminal. They call me a traitor. Their MAGA minions online come after me to try to intimidate me, to create fear. I'll tell you my response. My response to that is screw you and the horse you rode in on. I hope that is your response too. We must not give in to this climate of fear. We are Americans. If our troops can face the bullets and the missiles and the dangers of combat, then sure enough, we can be courageous at home.
Okay. What courageous thing are you doing other than just tweeting about it?
He's swearing. Screw you and the horse you rode in on.
Yeah, he said we should say that. Well, I will say that to you, Adam Schiff, as well.
Yeah,
who spent your time lobbying Congress to ban my fucking Twitter account. Like that's the serious guy we're talking about here.
Yep.
And even Twitter said no. So like, what are you doing, Democrats? That's fascist.
Yeah. And as many people are pointing out, like censoring your own people for speaking out against Trump, giving more money to cops who are arresting protesters, working in cahoots with the DHS and ICE to, see who is a Hamas sympathizer. That's all fascist shit happening in Democratic strongholds. Screw
it's
you.
Giving skibbity. I'm glad he didn't have purple hair or pull that shit, but come on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need a beer.
I totally hear you. Okay, I know there are some things that are maybe labeled differently. Is there any other thing you want to show for Democrats before we move on to Republicans?
Yeah, let's look at some Democrats here. Andrew Yang. The balls of this piece of shit guy, Andrew Yang, who should have endorsed Bernie, but instead immediately endorsed Biden when he dropped out, to say that Bernie should have started a new party 8 years ago. Yeah, he should have. But you literally were going to start your own new party and you threw your hat back into fucking Joe Biden.
And then he started the Forward
shut
Party,
up.
where basically it's just right wing. It's like another third way. Yeah. Yeah, he should have started a new party. Totally agree. Or he should have just run as a Green. It was offered to him by Howie Hawkins in 2016. But he didn't. But yeah, why do we need to hear anything from him ever at this point?
And look, the message is right. I don't disagree with what he's saying, but why don't you get out there now and frame it as, let's start a new party now, Bernie. Bernie, come join me. Let's do this. We got the Sarah Nelson from the flight.
Yes.
We got Sean Fain. We got all these people. Look at your rallies. This is a failed strategy. Let's go. Do that. Not like, hey man, it would be cool if 8 years ago you did the thing that I tried to stop you from doing.
And you say it in a tweet, just like thirst trap for likes. Does everybody agree with me? Should have happened this way. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. All right. This is just a small thing, and then we can move on to Republicans. But, the EPA was just sued, and the Supreme Court ruled that basically we can have raw sewage in water to certain
raw
levels.
Sewage as a tree.
Little raw sewage. Not a big, no big deal. And of course it's horrible. It's happening, with all these Republicans on the Supreme Court. But I think it's really important to remember who's suing the EPA is the city of San Francisco, which is a Democratic city in a Democratic state. So, it just, again, it is so instructive that they're just all working on the same side. Yeah.
The Democrats suing for more shit in the water.
Yeah.
In a state that they have a supermajority.
Because they want to make sure that they can put a little bit of poo in the water or a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? And, you know, there's still like, this is also where the salad bowl of America that Status Quo and Jordan Sheridan have been doing such great reporting on, right? Like, that is where the lithium battery plant has now had 2 explosions or fires releasing toxic chemicals all over the food, the soil.
Yeah.
In California, the salad basket or whatever, salad bowl
Something
of
like,
the country.
I think it was 70%. You know,
Yeah.
I love making numbers up, but I think it's
Yep.
70% of the
99.9,
nation's
yeah.
70% of the nation's fruits and vegetables come from this region.
Yep.
And this lithium that gets in the air, the problem isn't like washing it off the vegetables. It's that it gets into the soil and it leaches into the soil, which just means soaks down to a lower level in the water table and
permeates
permanently impacts your fruit. So we're just potentially poisoning and making vegetables and fruits cancerous, which their whole job is to prevent cancer. That's why we eat them.
Yep. Yeah. And by the way, like I talk about this every time it rains in LA. Something happens to the chute that flows into the water, and raw sewage, like hundreds of gallons or hundreds of thousands, now I'm making up numbers, like go into our beaches right now because of the fires. There's like the beaches are just washing up all the sediment and ash and debris from the fires. I mean, it's
and look, Jay has a good point here. Oops.
Oh, sorry. Hi. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's scrolling faster than I can push the button.
I know, both of us. Yeah.
We're already seeing it. Other countries have higher standards, so they will not allow these fruits and vegetables to come into their country. But we're just like, that's America, and we're getting rid of all the standards on all this shit. So the lithium, a little lithium in your vegetables as a treat is okay, and some shit in your water in San Francisco, that's cool with us too. The most liberal progressive state in the country, and this is your example with a super majority. I just cannot emphasize that enough. So like a couple more Democrats on the national level, if we can't fucking stop our whole fucking food supply being poisoned with lithium in super majority state, how do you think a couple Democrats change this equation nationally?
Yeah. They relax the regulations. They don't enforce the fines or the punishment or the consequences. It's why, we keep having wildfires, because PG&E, our electric companies, keep not doing what they're supposed to do, which is investing in the infrastructure and, bringing everything up to date. And then wildfires happen, decimate whole areas, put toxicity into the air, kill people and animals. And Gavin Newsom lets them off with a little fine, and then maybe doesn't even enforce it, or doesn't even force them now. Like, that's where the strings should be attached, right? Like, reinforce your, put them underground, put your wires underground, or update all of your infrastructure, whatever it is. But it's just like, okay, pay your fine. And it's like the gas, or not the gas.
Pay your fine and move on. And we're going to continue to give you, I think it was an A rating or whatever. They have some standard to get the government contract to renew the next. What should have happened automatically, regardless of the lawsuit, is they shouldn't have gotten the contracts renewed to do this stuff on a state level.
Right.
But their rating was backed by Newsom for no reason. It was just like me saying, vouching for a buddy, basically. And this is a business that costs the state so much money. Our state taxes go to pay for this shit. Everybody who gets PG&E is paying twice their electric bill of people who have SMUD. So West Sacramento over here, they have PG&E versus SMUD, and it's just fucked. Like, there's a border in Sacramento where your bills are twice as much for electricity because of these fucking lawsuits. Because of this, it's not the lawsuit, it's the. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, well, because they're indemnity. I mean, because it's like why we pay so much for cops, right? Like, a lot of it is paying out to all the different lawsuits and all the different consequences of their negligence that is deadly. And as you said, like, remember when there was mad cow disease in the UK a few years ago? They did not want our exported cattle. at all, because they know what we do with the antibiotics and what we feed them, and that we allow them to eat like chicken poo as part of their feed. Like, I mean, yeah, it's nobody should be under any illusion that the people in power are are rooting for any of us. Should we spin before we move on to the Republicans?
Yeah, let's spin.
All right. I need to refill my glass also. 1 second.
Kiko, congratulations on your light bill being so expensive.
That sucks.
Vote Democrat. Vote Democrat.
Mine, I mean, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. Mine goes up and nothing's changed from, and also like it shows like the bar of your usage in comparison to other homes. And like for the first time in a really long time, we were actually doing much better, apparently, and using less electricity. And it was still like double what it was the month before. And like, who am I going to talk to fight that? How am I going to prove anything?
And look, I mean, I'm an electrician. Some people know that, but people put in these solar packs and things to produce their own energy. So they changed all the laws to where these people used to be able to sell it back to the grid, which would provide a discount for everybody because they're getting cheap energy from solars that's just not being used by the homeowner. And the whole system is rigged to where you're not getting that anymore. So people like we're supposed to be the adopt clean technology state that provides an example.
Yeah.
And instead we got guys like Gavin Newsom running policy who really are in bed with the electric companies. So this whole like save the planet shit is just bullshit to them, or you would not have a policy where people with solar couldn't just sell that back to the public.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, government should be handling all of this. It should not be privatized, but instead they hand all these contracts out to their friends. And this is where we are.
Yeah, baby.
Ding, baby, spin.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, wait, just a second.
You are really trying to bring shots back. Yeah.
I am, because I don't know how much more wine I have in this bottle. Okay, wait 1 second.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God. All right, just pick something. This is getting ridiculous, right?
I think this calls for Nunchuck Tyler.
Okay, good.
Because self-defense is really important for us leftists.
Okay.
Learn some self-defense.
It's another fun-filled day with Nunchuck Tyler. Every day is fun-filled with Nunchuck Tyler. Your day will be beautiful and great. Doesn't matter if you're having a bad day, we're going to change that with my Nunchucks of Fury. Nunchuck Tyler's doing his Nunchucks of Fury. Gonna make your day better if your day is bad. Nunchuck Tyler's doing Nunchucks of Fury. Gonna make your day better if your day is sad. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah, peace.
Nunchuck Tyler, your day is better. I don't know.
That was good energy. That was much less stressful than the dog and the parkour.
It is good energy. I actually watched that on, Instagram or something.
Yeah.
And I scrolled to his page I was like, maybe there's a better Nunchuck Tyler video, but they all look like that. Exactly.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
100% those. Got a whole page. So if you're, instead of the GoFundMe, can I suggest if you're poor and need something to raise some money, that guy's making money with Nunchuck Tyler. We can workshop something to get you a couple bucks. It's out. You just got to humiliate yourself. And we got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's see how the Trump administration is doing. Not so great. Age 18 to 34, 69% disapproval, which is up 38 points, with only 31% approval. Not going great, Mr. Trump. He also, throws out, he's back on Twitter, but he mostly just does his truths, whatever they call them. What is he called? Truths? Is that what a post is?
Truth Social.
Yeah.
Are they truths? I don't know. Yeah,
they're his truths. Yeah. All federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. American students will be permanently expelled, or depending on, the crime arrested. No masks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's not going to get the 18 to 34-year-old crowd. He's not even trying, honestly. It's amazing. And that is where like the Tate brothers and the, bro podcasts really come in handy, because somehow they're making a case for him just by way of talking about other issues. A lot of hate, but also like taking care of your body, whatever people might think about any part of it. But like they rope people in, not just because they're political podcasts, right? But Trump isn't trying at all.
No, and even those efforts with Tate, it's like, it's sort of like appealing to the fringiest base that you have. It's like, the Tate people, you got a lot of incel dudes that can't get laid that are like, oh, this guy negs women and he treats women like shit. And oh, he's such a hero. He's got the big balls and he does this, I mean, not that Tate does the racism as much, but like he does the sexism hard. And there's other people that do the racism hard. But that fringe, those are people who are maybe the most vocal and they're the biggest bullies online in that kind of sphere. That buys them time. But like, you got a lot of young people going, even if you're a Republican, my rent, my wages, my all that shit. And they're just watching the economy and they're like, I don't hear a single person saying these tariffs are going to benefit me. No. I did hear this video about them saying, the price of eggs and price of food isn't even important because it's a pain we got to go through. And they keep hearing these things that are like, this is going to fuck me. Like, what?
I mean, like, that thing that Charlie Kirk said about like the American dream is no longer, and we know this, right? The American dream is not possible anymore. You cannot save your way to owning a house. But what's the plan? There's no plan. Tariffs, we know that's just going to be a tax for working people, and war and silencing free speech and protest. So like, how do we get out of this? The economy now, we are at an all-time record in credit card debt at $1.21 trillion. That's insane. Nobody can afford just regular life. This was a couple days ago, but the Atlantis Fed GDP is now down 2.8% growth in Q1. I mean, that's just like a cliff. That's a vertical line.
That's a vertical line, and you're losing the stock market. You got Jimmy Buffett selling fucking stocks.
Warren Buffett.
I mean, Jimmy too.
His younger brother Jimmy.
His cousin Jimmy.
Yeah.
But look, the economy. Trump put a month on his whole tariff idea. He's like, oh, we're going to suspend it for a month because it's going to wreck the economy. And to have all that insecurity to all the big businesses with how their business, you can't plan for, if you're Ford Motor Company, like the impact of not knowing what's going to happen. Like once you know what's going to happen with this stuff, you can
and consistency that it's not going to keep going back and forth. Right.
But all this chaos is incredibly bad for the economy.
Yeah.
And the writing is on the wall that all that Trump cares about is his own personal economy, his inner circles, and young people see Musk and they're like, I don't relate to Musk.
Yeah.
I don't relate to him. And the MAGA folks don't really relate to him.
No, they hate him
to for a while, but they hate the fucker.
Yeah.
They see him for what he's doing.
100%. 100%. And there is already a lot of friction inside the cabinet, right? So this was putting on the readers, after all the firings, which is, first of all, reckless and isn't helping with any of the corruption or waste and abuse or whatever that they say that the Doge people said that they were going to actually, focus on. But it also takes power away from these secretaries, right? Like Rubio and the heads of all the cabinet members, Rubio and what's his name from, oh my God, I can't remember a single person's name now. Duffy. And I don't know what he's going to be doing with Nick Mann, the head of, Department of Education. I mean, she wants to fire everybody and gut that department anyway, but Rubio and Duffy especially are feeling the pressure and also the anger of having their own power being undermined by Musk. So in the New York Times, they did a report on the explosive meeting, which I think was last Thursday, where the cabinet members were clashing with Elon Musk. Marco Rubio was incensed. Here he was in the cabinet room of the White House, the Secretary of State seated beside the president and listening to a litany of attacks from the richest man in the world. Seated diagonally opposite, across the elliptical mahogany table, Elon Musk was letting Mr. Rubio have it, accusing him of failing to slash his staff. You fired nobody, Mr. Musk told Mr. Rubio, then scornfully added that perhaps the only person he had fired was a staff member from Mr. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Mr. Rubio had been privately furious with Mr. Musk for weeks, ever since his team effectively shuttered an entire agency that was supposedly under Mr. Rubio's control, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. But in the extraordinary cabinet meeting on Thursday in front of President Trump and around 20 others, details of which have not been reported before, Mr. Rubio got his grievances off his chest. Musk wore a suit and tie to Thursday's meeting instead of his usual t-shirt after Mr. Trump publicly ribbed him about his sloppy appearance, defended himself by saying he had 3 companies with a market cap of tens of billions of dollars and that his results spoke for themselves. But he was soon clashing with members of the cabinet. Moments before the blowup with Mr. Rubio, Mr. Musk and the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, went back and forth about the state of the Federal Aviation Administration's equipment for tracking airplanes and what kind of fix was needed. Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, jumped in to support Mr. Musk. All the money people will be doing this. Mr. Duffy said the young staff of Mr. Musk's team was trying to lay off air traffic controllers. What am I supposed to do? Mr. Duffy said, I have multiple plane crashes to deal with now, and your people want to fire air traffic controllers. So there's going to be a certain point where some of these people are going to be pushing back, especially when planes are falling out of skies. Like that's going to feel like a problem that affects them.
Yeah, this clash is set up. It's just the race is to, in my opinion, the race that Musk and the establishment wants is tear it all fucking down as fast as you can, because then rebuilding it gets less funding. We privatize as much as we can. And it's a grab for privatization. So, how it pans out, like even Rubio and these people who are mad about it, are they really mad about it? It's just that they look bad. They look weak, but they want these same things to happen.
Yeah.
Like they're all supporting the privatization of our entire fucking economy.
I mean, it feels like a pissing contest mostly, right? It feels like that, but also what you're saying about the privatization, I think that even though they're all for privatization, they don't necessarily want all the contracts to go to Starlink and Musk,
Yeah, you're right.
So,
you're right. There's going to be conflict of the donors versus why is this one billionaire getting all the profit from this? These billionaires, the other bad billionaires are going to be mad because they've bought their people. Right. And so their people are going to clash and we're going to have this fight. But at the end of the day, they're still trying to get as much wreckage done, because whatever the solution is after Musk's damage to our way of running our government, the solution is going to be disaster capitalism and profit for people around this inner circle.
Yep.
So they may have beefs on who gets the money from all wrecking our country.
Right.
But
of course, their project is the same. It's, defund the government and then say, look, the government doesn't work well. Let's just get rid of this. We'll privatize everything. Yeah.
Prisons suck. They're run so poorly. Give it to private prisons. Let's lock everybody up.
Department of Education, take it away. We're taking away all the funding. Look what just happened with. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, just, School vouchers. We're going to go back to school vouchers. You know, we're going to go back.
Yeah.
The post office, man, they don't even make any money at the post office. How do they not make any money? We can make some money. Well, good luck sending a letter across to fucking Alaska for 80 cents or whatever the fuck it is.
I mean,
it's going to cost you $10 to send a letter to Alaska if we privatize it.
And it won't come to your house. Like there, you know, the post office, the mail delivery people go to every house. They're going to have to, nobody's going to do that. Or as you said, you're going to have to pay an extra, you know, like a surge pricing to get your mail if you are at all off the beaten track. Or, hey, maybe they'll even do that, right? It's Christmas time. It's the holiday season. Packages are going to be 3 times as much now. Like they can do anything. There'll be no government control. There'll be no regulations, and they can gouge us for everything.
But this is where we need Democrats that actually, you know, we need a party, an actual opposition party to say, let's look at the examples of privatization and show me where that made it better for the public in any way. Like, you know, let's point to prisons. Let's point to all these things like
healthcare, prisons, NASA.
None of it's good. None of it's good. And Democrats are leaning into privatization and trickle down economics theory that our State of the Union address, the counter was go Reagan, you know, like, what are we doing? This is not, they should be pointing out the flaws of this. And why is the Republican Party still pitching this trickle down economic shit with privatization? It's garbage, but they can't do that because they love it too.
They love it. So instead we rely on people like friend of show, Stephen Semler, who with his, you know, brilliant analysis and charts has made it very clear that the Doge dividend proposal you keep hearing about amounts to a tax cut for the rich financed by slashing welfare for the poor. And he shows the difference with the checks that are coming out because, you know, Trump's big thing, the only way he's trying to make all these cuts make sense and be popular, and it's not working, but is by saying like, oh, with all the money we are saving, everybody's going to get a tax cut or, you know, mailed checks from the government or whatever. And Stephen is showing that the checks, the dividends will mostly go to the people making, I mean, the biggest will be $100,000 and above will get over half of these of the Doge dividend. And the bottom chart shows that most of the relief checks that went out after the
pandemic
relief package, when Biden first took office, were much more evenly distributed and really benefited people who were making under $100,000 a year. And it happened that's happened like once in my lifetime. And billionaires were so freaked out that they had to end the child tax credit. They had to declare the COVID emergency over. They had to take away all protections because one time or whatever, however many checks, you know, people got 3 little times, by the way, it was too much for them. Can't bear it. They could not bear that poor people would get even like a modicum of help, a breadcrumb.
And it's just it's so blatantly obvious that they just they're cutting the oversight of corporate greed. All corporate greed is being cut. You don't ever cut the IRS. Like the IRS, their whole job is to get money for the government. So like, even if they're inefficient, you don't say, let's get less people to get government, get the government money. And it's because the first thing they do is stop looking. It's very expensive to go after wealthy people's money that they're hoarding and hiding. Like that's a resource that costs a lot of money. It's very profitable when you get that big money.
Right.
But you got to sue and you got lawyers involved where, hey, you can get a poor person. We found another $500 from a poor person.
Right.
They can't sue us. Let's get that $500. We're going to hold up their job. We're going to tax their fucking income. You know, we're going to.
And so what happens is it makes the IRS hated by everybody because the rich hate them. But because the IRS isn't being funded appropriately, which would be a great investment, because if they went after rich people, they could get billions of dollars actually. But because of that, They're defunded. They don't go after the rich people. We all know, that none of these wealthy people, they exploit all the tax loopholes and then some, don't pay federal taxes while they're making billions of dollars. But the IRS is going, as you said, after, the working class because it's much easier and there's no ability to hire a lawyer to fight it. So that's one way of getting universal hatred of this government agency, so then nobody speaks out. But as you said, if Democrats were more vocal and forceful and showed, like, when we do go after these people and we fund the IRS and we are able to take them to court and sue them or hire the lawyers that are necessary, we actually get a return. And even the return, like, we know, like, all the deficit stuff is all ridiculous. But what it does is takes money from them, which takes some of their power away. Because you can't have a democracy when you've got billionaires. There's no democracy when people can buy the government and buy their way into office and buy their policies that they want. So that's an important strategy of, taking away their ability to craft this government to work only for them.
Yeah, and that's what's happening in plain sight right now. The government is being shifted to work so overtly only for the wealthy.
Yep.
And that's why you lost 69% of kids 18 to was it whatever that number was. I mean, to have that low of support when that's the demographic that shifted to Republican.
Yep.
Like you already lost the biggest shift that probably won you the election. They're already lost, but they don't. Yeah. Trump is not up for re-election. He didn't give a fuck.
Yep.
Elon Musk is not even a politician. He doesn't care what his numbers are. So who's going to step in and do anything about it? The Republicans aren't going to do anything about it because they're all scared of Trump still because they need to get reelected, unlike him.
Yeah. And Musk has threatened every single one of them with a primary challenge that he'll fund if they don't get on board.
Endless money to fund an election against them.
Got to get money out of politics. All right. What do you think? Are there any cringy videos we want to show for Republicans?
I think you should play 2 cringy videos in a row so I could use the restroom. Just throwing that out there.
All right. Go ahead. All right. I'm going to do it. You can take your
do it. You got this.
We're gonna just a very short one from Senator Kennedy, who was the you gotta scramble a lot of eggs, and eggs are better than sex, and I love them so much, but we all have to go without our sexy eggs for a little bit, imparting a little bit more wisdom.
I think Elon Musk is a rock star. The tofu crowd is mad, but when you trim fat, pigs squeal. That's just the way the world works. That's the law of nature.
I mean, the fat that they're trimming is money that is used by a lot of their base for Medicaid, for education, for social programs that help their base. And he's calling them fat pigs who are squealing. And he can pretend it's the tofu crowd, but the tofu crowd, it's so funny. There's just no consistency in the way they talk about the left, liberals. The tofu crowd is not as reliant on the programs that they're cutting as their actual base. And they just seem to be completely tone deaf to that. This is the, oh my God. Trump talking about the 2 stranded astronauts in the air. And I mean, the funny thing that Elon Musk at this point thinks that he could talk about how he would solve that problem when 4 of the 8 starships that he's tried to launch have exploded. But he still, is always weighing in on, he says it's a political reason that he could have solved it and brought those astronauts back months ago.
But this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other. But maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But And you know, there's a danger up there too. It can have some failures up there that would be very bad. You got to get them out. So I've authorized Elon a week ago. I said, you know, we have two people up there that Biden and Kamala left up there, and he knows it very well. I said, are you equipped to get him? He said, yeah, he's got a Starship, and they're preparing it right now. And so Elon is going to go up and
I'm inspired with confidence. Completely inspired with confidence. Zainab, thank you. Yeah. Nobody earns $1 billion. They steal profits from labor and they destroy our climate. There's no way to earn $1 billion.
I don't know how you're even. Sorry, I didn't realize that I was muted. Thank you, Zainab. And I agree completely. How do you even, if you're a MAGA dude, do you watch that and think he kind of knows what he's talking about? Like, with the crazy hair, and maybe they're making love up there. Like,
they better really like each other. We're coming for you.
Instead of like, hey, I'm working with NASA on this and expediting this issue, and we're bringing in some top scientists, and we're gonna put a moonshot. You know, we're gonna give $1 billion or whatever, something to get these guys back. I asked the guy who's running our government now, Musk, the billionaire who bought me into this position. I asked him to solve it. And you guys saw his rocket just blow up. So I'm sure this is all going to work out great. And
handle it.
He's on it. And I mean, we all know this, but like Musk used to get a lot of press for offering his solutions to every trauma in the world, every disaster. Like he's going to get those. He's going to offer the scuba gear to get these people out of this.
The Thai soccer team. Hey,
stuck in the cave, drowning.
Like water pipes.
He didn't do anything.
No,
but the guy who just blew up a rocket, who's saying, well, rockets are hard, who just fucked up Twitter, who just hired fucking 18-year-olds to look at our social security
all of the inspector generals. Yeah.
The government. It's all.
It is like we're just watching buffoons like rob us blind, but they are still the ones who are running everything. It's just impossible.
They're running it all, and the Democrats to not be able to counter this messaging and suddenly be leaning into like, hey, tell us how you got so good at this shit. Like, you know, tell us what.
You're killing it,
Charlie
guys.
Kirk, how'd you do this? That's why Bernie's message is so popular, because it's just a normal fucking thing that a regular person would say, seeing this shit go down.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand at this point where we are, and I really do think that it's all distraction. It's all like tap dancing and the fugazi and the play acting and the pretending and the hurling insults, and it is like watching toddlers have a tantrum, and they're clearly so inept and ignorant about so many of the things that they have been given the power to oversee. But all of that really is a diversionary tactic while they are like robbing us all blind and destroying our climate and genociding around, Palestinians and taking over land and invading. And, it's just like they're doing real grown-up evil things, but then they're putting out this sort of material that is so deeply unserious. It should be humiliating. And it really doesn't matter, because like the only power that we have is shutting down the means of production, crushing their economy, or truly rising up. And because our opposition party doesn't do anything, we're stuck with those two really not great alternatives. None of that is fun, pleasing for anybody. We should not have to be fighting so hard for the basic necessities.
No, No, and the only check we have on this by our system itself is that by the time the midterms come around, there'll be some blowback on all this shit. So that's why, Trump put his month stay on the tariffs. That's why there's going to be some turmoil, and eventually Musk is going to be out and not doing this stuff. But getting away with as much as they can before there's a consequence to Republicans, because Republicans up for election at some point, they're going to turn the page on this before the midterms. But so much damage is going to be done in the next year that, like, this is the window we really have to fucking wreck some Tesla buildings. I mean,
as many as
now
you can.
we can't wait for the Bernie's movement to rally enough people to get upset and vote our way out of this.
No, that's not. No.
Now
we really do need to gum up the works and make them feel the financial pain. I mean, that's the only way to do it. And I mean, we don't have we don't have the yellow vest pitchfork gene, but I'll tell you it's coming, because it won't be strikes, it won't be protests. It's going to end up being a lot of people. I remember that whole thing of like people going postal, and it always felt like one-offs. Those were people who were part of a system that was denigrating them, humiliating them, forcing them to work really hard and not be able to survive, having to deal with angry customers who are also going through the same thing. And I'm not excusing it. It's horrible, but we're all going to be pushed to a brink. Like, it's happening, right? So
it is happening. And that's why the police state's getting escalated, because, when you see a guy like me in my position do something and like, oh shit, he's going to be in jail for 5 years now for that little thing he did on YouTube or something, like that really is their only hope, because people are going to be this mad. And so, like, when you have nothing, it's easier to just say, fuck it all.
Yeah.
But when you're hanging on and you're like, if I could just make it a couple more bucks and get a raise,
and then exactly.
If I'm just there, but people aren't there anymore. And so that's the police state is filling that gap of like, well, if I do this, so I don't know.
I mean, that's what they used to have debt jubilees in feudal systems. Like, they would just forgive debt because they knew, like, at a certain point, you have to ease up on that pressure, or they are going to Luigi you. I know it's already 7, but because we're in the cringe episode, can we just show a few of these crazy
I could watch cringe all night.
Israel related cringe? Because again, when people are carrying out or supporting the most heinous atrocities for this extended period of time, the fact that anybody is trying to deal with it with humor, the way these Zionist genocidal maniacs are, is even more disturbing to me. But this was at, I think it was an ADL conference.
This is the Friends guy.
No, this is Jewish women with big racks.
We're Jewish women with big racks. Of course we're at an anti-Semitism conference.
We're Jewish women with big racks. We use our assets to combat anti-Semitism.
We're Jewish women with big racks. Of course we're the real freedom fighters.
We're Jewish women with big racks. Of course people keep coming up to us to ask us for pictures, to thank us for our advocacy.
We're Jewish women with big racks. Of course I'm wearing my Star of David and hostage ribbon.
Jewish women with big racks. The restroom's this way.
We're Jewish women with big racks, and I'm at this conference in hopes of finding my husband.
I probably shouldn't say anything here, but I mean,
if you said anything, our next person would have a few words for you. He's very upset about what's happening in the world, and he takes absolutely no responsibility for it.
I believe with that privilege comes a responsibility to use my voice in moments like this, at a time of danger, bigotry, and violence. Now, as you know, speaking out often comes at a cost. You don't have to say anything political. No one's asking you to solve the conflict in the Middle East. Just say that you stand with your Jewish friends, colleagues, and neighbors against hatred and discrimination. Say that what's happening on our college campuses and in our schools and to Jewish-owned businesses is totally unacceptable. Say anything in solidarity with the Jewish community. Post your bar mitzvah picture. We'll start a trend of embarrassing haircuts and dental work. This time we're in, with the terrifying global rise in anti-Semitism and the normalization of hate speech and physical attacks against Jews, calls for those of us in positions of real or perceived leadership, whether we ask for it or not, to risk a little personal comfort for the sake of the greater community.
I honestly don't even know what he's talking about. It costs nothing in this country to speak out in support of Jews and against anti-Semitism. There's no consequence for it. That's what everybody does.
There's no consequence for it. And look, he could have left it at that first part of like, stay out of you don't have to get political, but just say you don't support anti-Semitism or something. But then he went right to what's happening at colleges, you know, like as if there is some hate speech, and that's obviously not the case. You go to, oh, there are Jews being violence. Well, okay, well, if you're really being apolitical with this, the imbalance of crimes against Palestinian people speaking up against, it's so insulting. I mean, we all, yeah.
It's so insulting. And especially because, like, you know, we know that the rise of anti-Semitism, the way they count it in this country by the ADL, is anytime anybody says free Palestine from the river to the sea, anytime they hear that at any march, they can document that as an instance of anti-Semitism. So their numbers are, you know, fudged from the start. And the people recently, over the past year and a half, who have been harmed in our country with hatred by hateful acts are Palestinians and Palestinian Americans. You know, it started with the little 6-year-old who ran to his landlord and the guy stabbed him to death. There were the 3 college students in Burlington. One of is shot because they're wearing keffiyehs, one of whom is paralyzed now. There was just a couple weeks ago, the guy, the Jewish American who shot 2 brownish people in a car driving past him, thinking that they were Palestinians. Turns out they were Israelis. You know, so the acts of violence, and that's of course not even talking about what our country, bipartisan fashion, is supporting and arming a genocide, and every day 41 Palestinian babies, kids, have been killed since the beginning of this conflict. Doesn't speak out against that at all. And this is what he's choosing to speak about. And
Zaina is absolutely correct. And we pulled that stuff too.
Yeah.
A Palestinian protester was arrested and his green card revoked. And this is part of they are really trying to deport anybody who is pro-Palestinian.
Yep.
It's like, that's our, if that's not fascism, what the fuck is it?
And the guy was here legally, has a green card. His wife is 8 months pregnant. You know, we know that the US has been coordinating with AI companies to try to figure out anybody who's had any pro-Palestinian speech. Colombia has gone right along with it. And this was one of the leaders of the anti-genocide movement on Colombia's campus. He was detained and the agents told him his visa was revoked. On what grounds? He said he had a green card. They were confused. Then they said that that was revoked too. His attorney demanded a warrant. The agents hung up instead, and now they aren't able to communicate with him, his lawyers. And that is, again, that is a bipartisan project, because when you say that being pro-Palestinian or, pro-liberation or even pro-Hamas, you're allowed to be pro-Hamas. Like, if you're allowed to be pro-Trump and pro-Biden, you should be able to be pro-Hamas. You're allowed. That's okay. You're allowed to do it. You're also allowed to be anti anybody, any country, any politician, except for Israel. I mean, it's the most insane carve out from our free speech. So, yeah. And so
carve-outs in our government are for Israel. Like, how does this happen?
It's really, it's so terrifying, which is why, I am a free speech purist, and I don't think that Trump should have gotten banned from Twitter in the first place. I think it's good for everybody to know just how hateful he is. And the way you combat bad ideas is with good ideas, no matter what, because one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, as we all know. Yeah, that's terrifying. And not only Colombia kowtowed to the administration and to all the outcry from their huge donors, the rapist, sex assaulter, the guy who used to be the owner of the Patriots. No, what's his name? Belchick? No. What's the guy who was caught down there in Florida? Whatever. Tom Brady's ex-friend. But all their big donors, the other one who is married to the scientist who used to date Brad Pitt, Bill Ackman, like all of these huge billionaire donors have mounted pressure enough. They got one Colombia president fired. The interim one has expelled several students, and even doing that, thank you, Robert Kraft. Thank you, Justin.
Belichick was the coach.
The coach, yeah, you're right. I'm sure he's an asshole too, but whatever. Deflate.
He's like dating like a 21-year-old or something. How'd he quit?
But even after that, Trump has withheld like $400 million of federal aid to Colombia, which I don't even know why they were getting it anyway. And of course, Fetterman's right out there like, yep, you pay the consequences, supporting Trump. So I don't know what David Schwimmer is talking about. The movie that won the Oscar, No Other Land, that like you couldn't even see in this country, where even after their nomination, they did not have distribution. There was a report that like on the BBC, they did a 25-minute retrospective of everything that won the Oscars the night before, did not even mention No Other Land. I mean, like the audacity to right now in this moment be worried about an anti-Semitism that does not exist in a systemic way in this country is really vile. Just gross.
It is. And I will give NPR a little credit. They did report on the Oscars and point out that was a big moment in the Oscars. So
that's nice.
I hate to give NPR any credit, but I'm just going to be honest here.
Yeah, no, that's good. And, I will say they are showing it now in Israel, and it's because I think a lot of people have been so propagandized in Israel, and they didn't know exactly what was happening. They see it. And even though right now it's very much being tied to, wow, look at the destruction that we're doing to Palestinians, and our hostages are still there. So, there's many more protests. They are now wanting to have an investigation into what really happened on October 7th, because as it becomes more and more clear to Israelis that it was their own IDF who slaughtered many Israelis who were killed that day, there's a reckoning that is going to happen.
Well, that reckoning, we know eventually it happens, like, Nazi Germany. The guilt to this day, to where they are now supporting the next genocide for fear of being anti-Israeli. But yeah, it's going to hit their culture. It's going to wreck the economy. It's all coming, and it's coming to us too.
Yeah. Anyway, cringe, embarrassing. Right. They should all be ashamed of themselves. There's a new 20-minute documentary show that's going to be on. Hen Mazig is producing it. And of course, Deborah Winger, who's really upset that people aren't standing beside her in her time of need, as her, other country, her second home, is committing genocide. She would like all the people that she stood by also to stand by her in her genocidal ambitions.
Yeah. All right, let's find a good thing to go out on. Huh?
Yeah, what do you want? What's that?
We got one. The people over at Planet Over Profit are doing some good stuff, or I could just find another Nunchuck Tyler clip if we need another Nunchuck Tyler to go out on.
No, let's go out on this. It is another mass action of people who are protesting the Bloomberg Invest conference. Mega rich firms and investors burning our planet come here to tout their moral depravity to an audience who pays $3,000 a ticket. And people are angry and upset, and they are making sure everybody hears about it. I'm so grateful to people who are doing this, because they are getting attacked and violently handled by cops who are there to protect Capitol, as is their only job description, apparently. So thank you to the protesters.
So more of this, more of the Tesla protests, more of the anything we can fucking find to harm their economy.
Yeah.
So,
and they should be grateful, because if it's not this, it's going to be a much worse fate for them. Truly. Listen to the people.
I'm rooting for that as well.
All right. We'll see you guys all on Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you. Keep punching up, and manja.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Stop hitting her. Oh my God.
They're destroying a planet. They're investing in genocide. They're destroying our democracy. Our friends are currently being arrested for shutting down the Bloomberg Invest conference, a conference packed with the world's richest billionaires and CEOs. Tickets to this conference cost $3,000. People are paying $3,000 to listen to these fuckers speak about how they're destroying our world.
We will not stand for this. We will shut this shit down. Yeah.